America. So I strive to inform the people in order that every man, woman, and child may know that the FFA is a national organization that reaches from the states of Alaska to Puerto Rico and from the states of Maine to Hawaii.
The Treasurer.
Stationed by the emblem of Washington.
Your duties there.
I keep a record of receipts and disbursements, just as Washington kept his farm accounts, carefully and accurately. I encourage thrift among the members and strive to build up our financial standings through savings and investments. George Washington was better able to serve his country because he was financially independent.
The Secretary.
Stationed by the ear of corn.
Your duties there.
I keep an accurate record of all meetings and correspond with other secretaries wherever corn is grown and FFA members meet.
The Advisor.
Here, by the owl.
Why stationed by the owl?
The owl is a time-honored emblem of knowledge and wisdom. Being older than the rest of you, I am asked to advise you from time to time as the need arises. I hope that my advice is always based on true knowledge and ripened with wisdom. Mr. Vice President, why do you keep a plow at your station?
The plow is a symbol of labor and tillage of the soil. Without labor, neither knowledge nor wisdom can accomplish much. My duties require me to assist at all times in directing the work of our organization. I preside over meetings in the absence of our president, whose place is beneath the rising sun.
Why is the president so stationed?
The rising sun is a token of a new era in agriculture. If we will follow the leadership of our president, we shall be led out of the darkness of selfishness and into the glorious sunlight of brotherhood and cooperation. Mr. President, all officers are at their stations.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The Secretary will call the roll of members.
There are 4,711 FFA members, advisors, parents, and guests present, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. FFA members, why are we here? To practice brotherhood,
Honor agricultural opportunities and responsibilities, develop those qualities of leadership which FFA members should possess.
may we accomplish our purposes. I now declare the business session of the 86th Iowa FFA Leadership Conference duly open for the transaction of business or attention to any matters which may properly be presented. Welcome to the 86th Iowa FFA Leadership Conference in the 2014 business session. As delegates, each and every one of you have an essential role in today's activities. Your contribution is vital to the success of the Iowa FFA. Today we will hear the financial report, gather input from our 2014 state committees, conduct the official business of the Iowa FFA, and hear from the 2014 State Officer Nominating Committee, who will ballot your 2014-2015 Iowa FFA officers. As delegates, we not only have the opportunity, but the obligation to select the students who are committed, capable, and dedicated to living a life of service. The 9 people you select today will log thousands of hours behind the scenes work, travel thousands of miles along Iowa's roadways, and manage their time and talents in order to serve the best in more than 14,000 Iowa FFA members. Before we begin, there's one person that we need to recognize. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the parliamentarian for our business session, Mr. Jack Cook. Before you're able to cast your vote of influence, we must secure an accurate count of delegates. The total number of votes must equal the total number of delegates. Please be patient as our coordinators get an accurate delegate count. Coordinators, please get the count and report to the Secretary's desk once you are finished.
Half the population just waiting to see me fail. Yeah, right, you better off trying to freeze hell. Some of us do it for the females, and others do it for the retail. But I do it for the kids, life through the time we're in on. Every time you fall, it's only making your chin strong. And I'll be in your corner like Nick, baby, till the end. And when you hear a song from that big lady, until the referee rings the bell, until both your eyes start to swell, until the crowd goes home. What we gonna do, y'all? Give 'em hell, turn the heads. Gonna live life till we're dead. Give me scars, give me pain. Then they'll say of me, say of me, say of me. There goes the fighter. There goes the fighter. Here comes the fighter. That's what they'll say of me, say of me, say of me. This one's a fighter. And if I could last 30 rounds, there's no reason you should ever have your head down. 6'5", 220 pounds. Hailing from rock bottom, Loserville, nothing town. Textbook version of a kid going nowhere fast. And now I'm yelling, kiss my ass. It's gonna take a couple right hooks, a few left jabs, for you to recognize you really ain't got it bad. Until the referee rings the bell, until both your eyes start to swell, until the crowd goes home. What we gonna do, y'all? Give 'em hell, turn the heads. Gonna live life till we're dead. Give me scars, give me pain. Then they'll say of me, say of me, say of me. There goes the fighter. There goes the fighter. Here comes the fighter. That's what they'll say of me, say of me, say of me. Everybody put your hands up. What we gonna do? What we gonna do? What we gonna do? What we gonna do, y'all? What we gonna do? What we gonna do? What we gonna do, y'all? What we gonna do? If you fall, pick yourself up off the floor. And when your bones can't take no more, just remember what you're here for, 'cause I know I'm a damn sure. Give 'em hell, turn the heads. Gonna live life till we're dead. Give me scars, give me pain. Then they'll say of me, say of me, say of me. There goes the fighter. There goes the fighter. Here comes the fighter. That's what they'll say of me, say of me, say of me. This one's a fighter. Till the referee rings a bell, till both your eyes start to swell, till the crowd goes on. What we gonna do, kid?
Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere.
Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train going anywhere.
Madam Secretary, do you have an accurate count of the delegates?
I do. There are 351 delegates from 179 chapters present.
Thank you. The Courtesy Corps will now secure the delegate session. If you must leave the delegate session at any time, you must be escorted by a member of the Courtesy Corps and check in and out with the Secretary's desk. During the business sessions, if you wish to speak, please stand to be recognized. When you receive recognition from the chair or an officer or coordinator, we will come to you with a microphone so you can be heard. Please state your chapter and name so it can be recorded in the minutes. Once again, please state your chapter and your name so it can be recorded in the minutes. and we'll proceed with the discussion. Before we move on to the next portion of this session, I would just like to remind you the importance of this session. This session is the most important session that we have the entire time while we are at the 86th IOFFA Leadership Conference. You guys truly have an honor to be here, and we decide very many important things throughout this delegate session. So I just wanted to remind you of the importance of this session. At this time, I invite Iowa Secretary Abram Meyer to the podium to present the minutes from the 85th IOFFA Leadership Conference.
The delegate business session was called to order by President Stephen Broxus at 10:02 a.m. on Monday, April 22, 2013. Roll call of delegates was taken and showed that 303 delegates were present, representing 156 chapters. Mr. Jack Cook served as the official parliamentarian for the delegate business session. The 2012-2013 Iowa FFA Secretary, Matt Hefty, read the minutes of the 84th Iowa FFA Leadership Conference. Hefty moved to accept the minutes as read. The motion passed by general consent. Mr. Scott Johnson, Iowa FFA Executive Secretary and Treasurer, presented the Iowa FFA Association's financial report. Amy Dreesen of the Sibley-Ocheyedan FFA chapter moved to accept the financial report. Spencer Stobner of the Des Moines FFA chapter seconded the motion. The motion passed. Auditing Committee Chair Gabby Wittenberg of the Wapsie Valley FFA chapter presented the committee report. Wittenberg moved to accept the report with an implied second. The motion passed. Program of Activities Committee Chair Lane Wicks of the Rockford FFA chapter read the committee report. Wicks moved to accept the report with an implied second. The motion passed. Jared Calver of the Guthrie Center FFA chapter moved to set the Iowa FFA Association member dues for the 2013-2014 year at $7.50 per member. Michael Whitrock of the Glidden-Ralston FFA chapter seconded the motion. The motion passed. Nominating Committee Chair Tyler Johansson of the Harlan FFA chapter presented the nominating committee report. Johansson presented the ballot for the 2013-2014 Iowa State Officer candidates. Broxus asked for nominations from the floor. 0 nominations were made. Johansson moved to accept the nominating committee report with an implied second. The motion passed. Elections were held for president, secretary, and reporter. The delegates were then directed to the district breakout sections of Hilton Coliseum, where the elections of the state vice presidents were held. The election results were as follows. For the office of president, Josh Earl of the Sibley-Ocheyedan FFA chapter was voted in over Heidi Andreessen of the DeWitt Central FFA chapter. For the office of secretary, Abram Meyer of the Wapsie Valley FFA chapter was voted in over Eric Wyrup of the DeWitt Central FFA chapter. For the office of reporter, Brad Pickenkey of the ESAC FFA chapter was voted in over Natalie Hansen of the LaPorte City Dysart FFA chapter. The office of South Central Vice President, James Leonard of the Newton FFA chapter, was voted in over Mandolin Miller of the Moulton Udell FFA chapter. For the office of Northwest Vice President, Dylan Broxus of the Sibley-Ocheyedan FFA chapter was voted in over Lauren Huska of the ESAC FFA chapter. For the office of the Northeast Vice President, Anthony Mollers of the North Fayette FFA chapter was voted in over Dustin Smith of the Decorah FFA chapter. For the office of Southwest Vice President, Logan Kelly of the Coon Rapids Bayard FFA chapter was voted in over Marissa Donahue of the Coon Rapids Bayard FFA chapter. For the office of the Southeast Vice President, Lauren Wyrup of the DeWitt Central FFA chapter was voted in over Kayla Beckman of the Mediapolis FFA. For the office of North Central Vice President, Trey Forsyth of the Charles City FFA chapter ran unopposed. The session adjourned at 12:15 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Matt Hefty, Iowa FFA Association, 2012-2013 State Secretary.
Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, the minutes of the previous convention stand approved as presented. You will see in your packets that you've received the financial report of the Iowa FFA Association. At this time, Mr. Scott Johnson, the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Iowa FFA Association, will present the financial report.
Your financial report should be a two-sided single sheet. There should be one per chapter, I think, if it was distributed correctly. The first side that I'll show you is the larger print side that shows the balances as of the 31st of March of this year. Notice it shows the balances as of the 31st of March of last year. While our account balances are less than what they were a year ago, it is important to note that during the past 12 months, we actually paid national FFA dues for 2 years, because last year's national FFA dues were paid in April of last year, and we paid this year's national FFA dues in February. So that doubles up on a $90,000 to $100,000 expense. So in general, I would consider our accounts to be in good financial condition. On the backside with the smaller print shows a breakdown of the budget, revenues, expenses, and differences compared to budget for the past year. Those numbers do look a little bit more complicated than what they did a year ago, but they're also more accurate than what they were a year ago, as we were in transition trying to sort through records and making sure that we were doing a better job of keeping accurate records of where our transactions were coming and going. Also note that the fiscal year budget, the first column, is set for July 1 through June 30th. So technically we've got 3 more months on that fiscal budget. So it's not quite an apples to apples comparison. You have 12 months worth of records there, but the budget is set for this current year. So when you look at certain things like state convention expenses, other expenses that are going to occur between April and June of this year, the financial actual data shows April through June of last year. So it's as close of a comparison as we can get. Of course, over the course of time, we'll be more consistent with setting our budget from year to year. So the budget numbers probably will be a little bit more accurate as we get more accurate data from our financial system to set the budget accordingly. At this time, I'll field any questions that the delegates may have.
I will now entertain a motion to accept the Iowa FFA financial report as presented.
Mr. President,
Chair recognizes the delegate from Southwest. Please state your chapter and your name.
Griswold FFA Chapter, Jacob Steinbeck.
All right, 1 second before that, I'll just check with the Secretary's desk to make sure that we are writing down the notes of this. Perfect, all right.
I move to accept the Iowa FFA Association financial report as read.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. President,
Chair recognizes the delegate from Northeast.
Michaela Hartle of the Central City FFA Chapter.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any clarifications? Hearing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you. All opposed signify by saying no. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. We will now hear from the auditing committee. These individuals spent this morning crunching numbers and making sure the Iowa FFA Association will remain financially sound for this coming year. Madam Secretary, will you please read the names of the members on the auditing committee?
Would you please step forward as your name is read? Paige Myers of Boone A&M, Committee Chair. Connor Davidson of Indianola. Clayton Saugling of Atlantic. Matt Tobin of Akron Westfield. Brianna Cook of Wapsie Valley. Nash Richards of Sumner Fredericksburg. Rhett Leonard of Mid Prairie. Mariah Bonnet of Twin Cedars. Luke Seal, West Liberty. Morgan Miller of Tallcorn. And Cody Parrott of Bedford.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And to give the report of the auditing committee, please welcome committee chairperson Paige Myers of the Boone A&M FFA chapter.
We, the Auditing Committee, recommend and commend. We commend the amount of money raised from sponsors. We want to recommend that the Board of Directors provide a financial report that includes the last 3 years' actual numbers with this year's budgeted and this year's to-date numbers. We would also recommend that the board review the numbers again from this past year. We recommend that the board evaluate the association professional fees. We recommend finding a bigger facility to hold a larger career show that would bring in more revenue from vendors and be more beneficial for our members. We recommend evaluating the expenses from Fun Night and determine if that amount was necessary, and if we need to look at funding sources to continue this spending. We recommend that the board institute a due date for association activities and assess a finance charge for items 90 days past due. We recommend that all expenses be separated by the fiscal year they occur. For example, 2013 WLC in a separate category from 2014 WLC, 2013 dues in a separate category from 2014 dues. We recommend that the Board of Directors review the state officers' travel and meals expenses to see if they were consistent with the previous 3 years' trend. Respectfully submitted, Paige Myers, Boone A&M Committee Chair. I move to accept the Auditing Committee report.
Thank you. Since this is a committee report, it carries an implied second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you. All opposed, signify by saying nay. Thank you. The report passes. Paige, thank you for your work and leadership. As a token of our appreciation, I present you with this conference certificate and Iowa FFA Association shirt. Thank you.
Thank you.
A program of activities is an essential part in the success of every chapter. Not only does it provide for direction from year to year, but it also defines the goals and purposes. Just as every chapter outlines a program of activities, the Iowa FFA Association members from across the state define and outline activities from Iowa FFA. Madam Secretary, would you please read the names of the members of the Program of Activities Committee?
Would you please step forward as your name is read? Program of Activities Committee Chair, Sydney Sindrich of the Wapsie Valley FFA. Brooke Benning of Latimer. Madison Steenhard of Sheffield. Daniel Swella of Sumner Fredericksburg. Kaylee Kreiner of Akron Westfield. Cassidy Hansen of Sioux Central. Megan Anderson of Bussey. Katie Catron of Indianola. Kayla Smith of Marengo. Sydney Bowman of Wellman. Clayton Sowling of Atlantic. And Peyton Kennedy of Bedford.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And to give the report of the Program of Activities Committee, please welcome Committee Chairperson Sydney Sindrich of the Wapsie Valley FFA Chapter.
The Program of Activities Committee of the Iowa FFA Association met at 9:00 a.m. on Monday, April 28, 2014, at the Iowa FFA Leadership Conference. The committee recommends the following: maintain the high-quality work that is presently being done, especially Meals from the Heartland and other community service projects, CDEs, WLC Bus, Iowa State Fair, 212, 360, and Colt Conference, and chapter visits. Develop material chapters and recruitment of members 7 through 12. Coordinating or assisting with coordinating national FFA officer visits. Develop a poultry CDE. Evaluate and update officer nominations and election procedures. Continue to add middle school activities such as a Discovery Fire Up Conference. Mr. President, I move to accept this report.
Thank you. Since this is a committee report, it carries an implied second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you. All opposed, say nay. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Sydney. As a token of our appreciation, I present you with this conference certificate and an IOFFA Association t-shirt. Let's thank the members who have been instrumental in the business session of the IOFFA Association and through their service on a committee one more time. Moving on to new business. I will now entertain a motion to set state dues at $7.50 again for the 2014-2015 school year. The chair recognizes a delegate from the South Central District.
Maddie Weiss from North Polk FFA. I move to set the state dues at $7.50.
Thank you. Is there a second? Chair recognizes a delegate from the North Central District.
Andrew White, Spencer FFA. I second that.
Thank you. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor of setting state dues at $7.50 for the 2014-2015 school year, please signify by saying aye. Thank you. All opposed, signify by saying nay. Thank you. Motion carries. For 12 FFA members, the past few days have been filled with interviews, essays, analyzing applications, calculating results, and making decisions. The members of the 2014 Iowa FFA Nominating Committee chose to spend their convention and days before choosing 18 candidates who are most able to serve the Iowa FFA. Please welcome the 12 most influential Iowa FFA members, the 2014 State Nominating Committee. Will you please step forward as your name is called from the secretary's desk?
Jeremy Rockow of Belmont Clemmy. Brandon Hansen of Iowa Falls. Jack Sainer of Marion. Stephanie Manternack of Monticello. Katie Goodell of Harris Lake Park. Bradley Aronson of Sioux Central. Morgan Smith of Stewart. Katie Dyson of Albia. Emma Hasselhoon of Eddyville. Megan Waldston of New Sharon. Haley Carlson of Atlantic. And Ashlyn Lingle of Manning.
Thank you. Now, before the NomCom gives their report, they want to do one thing that they've been practicing this entire week. So we'll see how good they've practiced this. NomCom, what is your profession? This is happening. We'll try it one more time. They needed to warm up. NomCom, what is your profession? As you can see, they came pretty close these past few days. I now call Brandon Hansen, chair of the 2014 Iowa FFA Nominating Committee, to the podium to read the Iowa FFA State Officer Candidate Ballot.
Thank you, Mr. President. From April 22nd through April 24th, the nominating committee interviewed and evaluated the candidates that were to be considered for the following positions on the state officer ballot. The ballot for elections of the 2014-2015 Iowa FFA officers are as follows. Candidates are listed in alphabetical order by last name. For the office of Southeast Vice President, Mike Pogmiller and Eric Weirup. For the office of Southwest Vice President, Logan Bauer and Michaela Dolch. For the office of Northeast Vice President, Garrett Hagenow and Michael Tupper. For the office of Northwest Vice President, Rebecca Lair and Devin Vanderveen. For the office of South Central Vice President, Lane Miller and Hunter Moore. And for the office of North Central Vice President, Tate Yeager and Mackenzie Lewis. For the office of Reporter, Tyler Johansson and Ray Schmidt. For the office of Secretary, Alyssa Russ and Lee Thompson. And finally, for the office of President, James Leonard and Abram Meyer. Mr. President, I move to accept the committee report as read.
Thank you. Since this is a committee report, there's an implied second. I will now call for nominations from the floor. Only those individuals who have submitted an application and completed the interview process are eligible to be nominated. I remind you that the members of the 2014 State Nominating Committee have spent many in-depth hours interviewing, analyzing, and balloting the most qualified candidates to serve as the 2014-2015 Iowa FFA officer team. Please respect their work. With that, I will call for nominations for all offices. Are there any nominations for any office? Nominations, 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 nominations cease. We will now proceed to vote on the nominating committee report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you. All opposed signify by saying nay. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Brandon, for all of your efforts and the time that you put into the committee and have gotten the selection process for this year's state officer candidates. Please accept this conference certificate and an Iowa FFA themed t-shirt. From this point forward, it is vital that each delegate follows the instructions given in order of the election process to be completed in an efficient manner as possible. At this time, I will have the escorts ballot, At this time, I'll have Nathan Loudon take the balloted officer candidates to the holding area. We will now have the election of the state FFA officers. We will first vote on the offices of President, Secretary, and Reporter. Each of the candidates will be given 2 minutes to speak and then ask questions. To maintain fairness, the candidates must be asked the same questions by the same individuals. The individuals who will be asking the questions to the statewide officer candidates have already been selected. One reminder, there will be no applause. I repeat, no applause after any candidates have given their speech or answered any questions. Will those delegates who selected, will those non-com members that were selected ask questions, please report backstage at this time. Will the first president candidate please be escorted to the stage?
When I started high school and my FFA career, I was thinking about myself. What could I do to make a difference in the FFA? What award could I win next? What office could I hold next? But after this last year of serving for the Iowa FFA Association, I realized that it wasn't about me. It was about you guys, everyone in this room. I realized that it was my job to serve you guys, to make you guys succeed, not me. Think of the song, 3 Wooden Crosses by Randy Travis. The last line in the chorus states, it's not what you take when you leave this world behind you, it's what you leave behind you when you go. I feel that as state president, this lyric or this chord will allow me to help serve you guys and not think about myself. Thank you guys, and please vote for James Leonard for state FFA president.
A reminder that there's no applause. That was James Leonard, balloted at president. Up next, we will have Abram Meyer for president candidate as well.
I step up to the line, my nerves are high, and I hear the sound of the gun, indicating that the race has started. The excitement of the crowd, the trembling in my feet, and the adrenaline in my body gives me this initial burst of energy that makes me think I can go forever. Before I know it, I'm out of breath, and I realize I've only reached the first mile marker. I realize the race is a marathon, not a sprint. This, my friends, describes the FFA. We have all of these mile markers in front of us as we begin our journeys in the blue corduroy. From Green Hand Fire Up to Washington Leadership Conference, 212, state convention, you name it. Before we know it, our Iowa degree applications are due, our FFA meetings fall on the same night as our basketball game, and our mom and dad are wondering when we are ever going to stay home. How do we stop and just embrace it? Although it is a marathon of hundreds of different opportunities, it feels like a sprint. And before we know it, we're crossing the finish line. This marathon in the blue corduroy, though, offers us something unique, something very rare. Although we have to hang up the jacket when we cross the finish line, the memories, places, and people leave a blue and gold medal in our hearts forever. FFA members, I hope to meet you at the next mile marker and help you to embrace your blue and gold medal throughout this next year as your state president. Thank you.
All right. At this point, we will have 4 questions for the president candidates. A question will be asked to each specific candidate, and the candidate will answer the questions. When completed, the second candidate will answer the same question. They'll have 1 minute to answer each question.
James, your first question is, what do you believe the future of Iowa FFA holds for its members?
I believe that the future of Iowa FFA is strong. All the members, with the increase in membership this year, we have set an all-time record. I feel that we'll have more participation in career development events with the new incoming members, and I feel that we're just going to move forward in the future.
Thank you. Abra, the first question is, what do you believe the future of Iowa FFA holds for its members?
I feel that the future of Iowa FFA holds a lot of opportunity for its members. As James mentioned, we're at an all-time membership, and throughout the 86 years, we've seen the FFA progress throughout the nation, from 33 farm boys to more than 500,000. And so within FFA, I think that gives us an opportunity and in Iowa to showcase our agriculture with such a abundant source, and especially with feeding the world, we're such an abundant source of food, and feeding that growing population, our Iowa FFA will really strive from that in agriculture.
Thank you.
For the second question, we'll start with Abra. How would someone describe your character, and how would it benefit the FFA?
So someone might describe my character as a very spontaneous and spunky personality. I've always been kind of described as very positive, and I always like to be kind of the life of the group. And so I bring a lot of energy to the table, and I think if someone were to describe my character, they would describe me as someone very positive and very uplifting, but also someone who's very determined and driven. I've always been a very goal-oriented person, especially within the FFA. It's something that there's a lot of opportunity there to achieve goals, and so that really has defined my character, is the positivity and the driven aspect.
James, How would someone describe your character, and how would it benefit the FFA?
Someone would describe my character as caring and responsible. I get everything done on time that needs to be. I care for each and every one of us in this room, and I don't like to see anybody mad, so that helps with that.
Thank you.
James, your third question. What do you believe is the biggest concern with Iowa agriculture today?
I think the biggest concern with Iowa agriculture today is the growing population in the world. Iowa is #1 in growing corn out of the United States, and I feel that we need to learn how to produce more with less to feed the world with the growing population.
Abra, what do you believe is the biggest concern with Iowa agriculture today?
I feel that the biggest concern today with Iowa agriculture is definitely the labeling between organic and commercial farming. Farmers take Iowa has very big farms, and we take a lot of hit for being factory owned. And the true reality is that most farms are family owned. And so we have to kind of fight off that stereotype and the labeling that we are growing. We're trying to feed the growing population, as James said, with family owned farms. It's just we are growing and trying to fit that capacity. And so we take a lot of hit from the non-agricultural background on how we are growing and how we are producing the food that we are.
Thank you.
Abra, how have you been able to manage a difficult schedule over the past year, and how has that prepared you to serve as president?
FFA has been an awesome opportunity to learn time management, and I think that comes a lot from our supervised agricultural experiences and all the various activities that FFA has to offer. So coming to college, I tell people it's a time management game, and I really learned a lot from FFA and in high school, being in sports and, like I said, the FFA and other extracurricular activities. I've learned through different career development events, different contests, different conferences, that time management has been very essential, and I've learned that a lot through college with balancing my time between state office and also my personal life and also college.
James, how have you been able to manage a difficult schedule over the past year, and how has that prepared you to serve as president?
I've been able to manage my busy schedule over this last year by keeping track of a list of everything that has to go on that week. So I sit down on Monday, I write down everything that's got to go on, and I prioritize. Put the most important thing first, then work my way down the list. That way, when the week's all done, I can say that I accomplished everything that I needed to and in a timely fashion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Will you please escort the presidential candidates back to the holding area? We will now vote on the office of president. Nominating committee members and all other members will distribute ballots for the office of president. As a reminder, the candidates were James Leonard first, Abra Myers second in the speeches. Please be respectful while voting without discussing to other delegates. Please cast your ballot at this time, and the nominating committee will pick up those ballots. Thank you for your cooperation. Will the first candidate for secretary please be escorted to the stage? The first candidate for the office of secretary is Elissa Russ.
Growing up the baby of the family isn't always the easiest, especially if you're like me and two out of your three older siblings are brothers. Being the youngest did have its struggles, but it did teach me two things. One, a little bit of wrestling skills, and two, that no matter what, I always have a support system. No matter how crazy my dreams, my siblings always have my back. And I've seen that same sort of support right here in the FFA. This organization is unlike any other. Even though we compete against one another, the camaraderie between FFA members definitely sets us apart. We all have the same passion, and we all have similar goals for our future. And this is what I love about FFA. FFA members are like our big siblings. They're always giving us the confidence that we need to accomplish our goals and giving us the courage that we need to chase those crazy dreams. I'm Elissa Russ, and I'm ready to support, serve, and empower over 14,000 FFA members across this great state of Iowa. And I would be honored to serve as your 2014-2015 State FFA Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you please escort the first candidate back to the holding area and bring the second candidate to the stage? The second candidate for secretary is Lee Thompson.
Think about your favorite people. Take our parents, for instance, or our best friends, our siblings, maybe even our FFA advisors. Have any of those people ever told you something about yourself that really stuck with you? For me, one of these statements came from my dad. He started telling me about a year ago that I lead with my heart. Now, after struggling to understand that statement for longer than I'm willing to admit, I figured it out. For me, wherever I go, my heart is out here. Whether it's dragging me places I didn't even know I wanted to go, or slowing me down and reminding me to take things one step at a time, my heart is my driving force. The first thing I consider in any situation is how the decision that I'm about to make is going to affect all parties involved. And more often than not, my needs will take the back burner to see others succeed in what they do. Now think about what leads you. Where has it led you so far? My heart led me to join the FFA, to make the move to Ames to pursue a degree in agricultural education at Iowa State University, and to stand before you, the Iowa FFA Association and Hilton Coliseum today. Now, speaking of you guys, I have something that I want to do for you. If elected, I am planning to work with all 6 vice presidents to organize district barbecues for each of you so that your chapters can come together, stuff your faces, play some games, and build relationships that will last a lifetime. I am honored to have the opportunity to ask you to allow me, Lee Thompson, and my heart, to lead you this year as your 2014-2015 Iowa FFA State Secretary.
Thank you. Will the 2 secretaries candidates please come on stage, as well as the individuals asking the questions? We will now have 2 questions for the secretary's candidates. A question will be asked to a specific candidate. The candidate will answer the question. When complete, the second candidate will answer the question. You'll have 1 minute to answer each question.
Elissa first, and then Lee first.
Elissa, how would someone describe your character and how would it benefit Iowa FFA?
Someone would describe my character as very well-rounded. I know how to act in professional situations, but I also know how to have integrity and stay loyal to the groups that I'm a part of. I believe that this would be a very important aspect if I were elected to state office, and it would benefit the Iowa FFA Association because I know how to act professionally in certain situations, and I also know how to connect with members and have that connection with them and get to know who they are. So that would be how my character would benefit the Iowa FFA Association.
Lee, how would someone describe your character and how would it benefit Iowa FFA?
Someone would describe my character as very passionate and very motivated. Whatever I do, I put 110% effort into it. And I know that I'm not the only one who cried like a baby at their FFA banquet. I'm sure that we all do that. So I'm definitely passionate about FFA, and I'm passionate about everything that I put my mind to. This would definitely benefit the Iowa FFA Association because state officers need to have that drive and need to be passionate about the organization that they are serving.
Elissa, describe your SAE and explain its importance to Iowa agriculture. Oh, sorry. Okay. Lee, describe your SAE and explain its importance to Iowa agriculture.
I have multiple SAEs, actually. I'm one of those people that likes to do lots of things. So I raise rabbits down at my ag campus, and then I also have several placement SAEs. I think the most important of which is I shadow my ag teacher. I'm actually at Iowa State University studying ag education, so I want to be an ag teacher in the future. And I think that by working with him to become a better ag teacher in the future, that I will be able to inspire more members when I am a teacher, and hopefully now, and I will be able to believe in the future of agriculture that way by inspiring members.
Elissa, describe your SAE and explain its importance to Iowa agriculture.
My SAE also has many components to it. I have 3 placement jobs, 2 of which are landscape-based, and the other is floriculture-based. I work at a local flower shop. So I feel like I show the diversity within agriculture and the side that's not necessarily production, even though I am knowledgeable in the production side of agriculture. I feel that my SAE has prepared me for my future in agriculture by giving me a knowledge basis on how to work with others, how to present myself, how to talk with others, and understand them very well. So my communication skills and also my work ethic are 2 major things that I have learned through my SAE that will help me in my advancement in agriculture.
Thank you.
All right, you may all exit. We will now vote on the office of secretary. Nominating committee members, please distribute the ballots for the office of secretary. As a reminder, the candidates were Elissa Russ and Lee Thompson. Once again, please be respectful while voting by not conferring with other delegates. Please cast your ballot at this time. After this is complete, will the nominating committee and helpers please collect the ballots? Thank you again for your cooperation. Will the first candidate for the reporter slot be escorted to the stage? The first candidate for the office of reporter is Tyler Johansson.
Perseverance, hard work, and dedication. These are three characteristics that describe one of the most important people in my life, my father. At the age of 18, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, a genetic disease that makes life much more difficult for him on a daily basis. In the summer of 2007, life got a little more complicated. As a part of a water skiing accident and no help from the diabetes, my dad lost his leg from the knee down. This began a tough few months for him. He's not the type of person that likes to sit inside in a recliner and recover from an injury for an extended amount of time. I could see it in his eyes. It was painful for him to think about not being able to do the everyday things that he once could. No matter the situation, my father is always striving to help others, whether it be providing for his family or volunteering with the Abu Bakr Shriners. He is constantly striving to make a situation better for someone else. Many people say, like father, like son, but I can only dream of accomplishing some of the things that my father has. I can use this opportunity to serve the Iowa FFA as a stepping stone to get one step closer to accomplishing my dream of becoming just like my father. I can lead with the three ideals that he has lived his life by on a daily basis. I can persevere through the tough times, be a dedicated leader for a great organization that advocates for one of the most important industries in the world, that advocates for one of the most important industries in the world and work hard to lead this awesome organization. Iowa FFA, it is our time to live with a purpose. It is our time to serve others. It is my time to serve you. Thank you.
A reminder that there is no applause after the candidates give their speeches. Will they please escort the first candidate back to the storing room, and the second candidate please come out now. The second candidate for the office of reporter is Ray Schmidt.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ray Schmidt from the Williamsburg FFA chapter. I am currently a sophomore at Iowa State University, and the reason I'm here today is because I live by the motto, you never know unless you try. This story comes from a childhood event I had with my father when I was 3 to 4 years old. And I apologize for any blunt language, but I'm a straightforward guy. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We were sorting through sheep, and I noticed one with intestines hanging out of its rear end. So this is the first and probably only time you will hear the term prolapsed used in a candidate's speech. So this prolapsed lamb looked pretty helpless. Chances of survival were very slim. But I asked my dad if we could help it, and with a look of doubt in his eyes, he shook his head and said it was hopeless. That was when I stood up, looked my dad in the eye, and said, "You never know unless you try." Now, I don't know where a 3 or 4-year-old got this saying. I don't know if I heard it somewhere or if I came up with it on my own. But either way, he agreed and we helped the lamb. Now, failure and rejection suck. They do. We all know this. But we can learn from failure, and the only thing worse than failure or rejection is regret. The regret that you never went for that guy or girl you always liked in your class, that you never helped try and fix the lamb. The feeling of regret that you never stepped out of your comfort zone or you never ran for a position you thought was unattainable. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to do anything illegal or immoral. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But don't be afraid to take a risk. Taking risks can get you ahead, or you can fail, like I said. But you'll never know unless you try. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, will both candidates please be escorted to the stage to speak? We will now have 2 questions to the reporter candidates. A question will be asked to each specific candidate. The candidate will answer the question. When complete, the second candidate will answer the same question. You'll have 1 minute to answer each question.
Tyler, how would
would someone describe your character and how would it benefit Iowa FFA?
Character is what you're doing when others aren't looking. There's the pillars of character that everybody learned in elementary school. I would say I'm a caring individual, a trustworthy individual, and a responsible individual that will benefit the Iowa FFA greatly. I can use those characteristics to lead this great organization and help every member in the organization grow amongst themselves.
Ray, how would someone describe your character and how would it benefit Iowa FFA?
I think most people that know me say I'm pretty chill and I'm pretty straightforward. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to stand up here and be a cheerleader for FFA. I'm not going to be all peppy and wear a skirt. But I am going to do my best to get things done. I'm going to be honest with people. I'm going to try my hardest in whatever I do.
Thank you. Ray, describe your SAE and explain its importance to Iowa agriculture.
My SAE was helping my dad with pigs. We have a seed stock operation, and I called myself vice president or whatever, manager. And we just worked through it. We delivered hogs all over the country to all sorts of people. And more importantly to FFA, it was a time to bond with my dad. Like, money, leadership, power, these all seem important, but it's nothing compared to the bonds you form with your family and friends. That's actually what's most important to me. Thank you.
Tyler, describe your SAE and explain its importance to Iowa agriculture.
My SAE program is an agricultural placement, and I work in the produce section at Fairway in Harlan. My SAE is important to agriculture because without the produce section or without the grocery store, the farmer's not going to have anywhere to go to take care of his well-being and his health. Without the health of the farmer, there is no agriculture. The farmer must be present in order to conduct the agricultural industry. I also use my people skills in Fairway to advocate for some of the different products and how they were grown, so to say, organically, conventionally, and the pros and cons of both. So I just use my people skills in my placement at Fairway and communicate with those people that come in on a daily basis.
Thank you.
All right. Please escort the candidates backstage. We will now vote on the office of reporter. Nominating committee members and helpers, please distribute the ballots for the office of reporter. As a reminder, the candidates were Tyler Johansson and Ray Schmidt. Please be respectful while voting by not conferring with other delegates. Please cast your ballot at this time. When completed, will the nominating committee and helpers please collect the ballots?
FFA Idol participants, make sure you're checked in by noon. Again, FFA Idol participants, make sure you're checked in by noon. Thank you.
Thank you once again for being patient. We will now vote on the offices of State Vice President. Once everyone has arrived at the breakout area, the candidates will be allowed 2 minutes to present a speech. Following the speeches, the nominating committee members will proceed to ask 2 questions. Questioning will alternate first responses among the candidates. As the vice presidents represent their respective districts, only delegates from those districts will vote on those vice presidents. To achieve this, we will separate the delegate body, sending each district to a different area to hear the speeches of their candidates. The same rules apply in the election of the vice presidents as a reporter or secretary. 2 minutes to speak, 1 minute to answer questions. A nominating committee member from each respective district will be responsible for asking the questions. They will also ask the same question to each candidate. When you have finished casting your ballots, we ask that you remain where you are until the results for your district have been confirmed. At that time, members of the Courtesy Corps will escort you back to the delegate session so we can conclude this session. As I dismiss you, the Courtesy Corps members from that respective district will escort the delegate body to their respective area. At this time, Northwest delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 139. Section 139. At this time, the Northeast delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 105. At this time, Southwest delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 132. At this time, South Central delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 112. At this time, North Central delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 134. At this time, Southeast delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 110.
everyone in the Coliseum right now, make sure that you are quiet as possible to respect the people giving speeches. Again, if you are not actually giving your speech, please be quiet to respect those people giving the speeches.
Madam Secretary, have all of the ballots been counted?
Yes, Mr. President, and there are no revotes.
Congratulations. You have selected the 2014-2015 Iowa FFA officer team. The results of these elections will be announced in the fourth and final general session, so make sure to stick around and see the collective results of your individual vote. I cannot thank you enough for your hard work that you put in here today. This is most certainly a thankless job. Our state constitution says that the state delegates are required to meet once a year to set dues and conduct other association business. This is by far the most important session of our state leadership conference. Madam Secretary, do you have record of any further business which should now be transacted?
I have none, Mr. President.
Does any member know of any new or unfinished business which should probably come before this business session? We are about to adjourn the business session of the 86th Iowa FFA Leadership Conference. As we mingle with others, let's be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the game of life. Fellow members and guests, join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic I now declare this meeting adjourned.
If you have not checked in for FFA Idol, you need to do so immediately. Again, if you have not checked in for FFA Idol, you need to do so immediately. Thank you.
I can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. I can
guitar. Try vocals or? All right. Want to just give me a signal when to stop or? Sometimes late at night, I lie awake and watch her sleeping. She's lost in peaceful dreams, so I turn out the lights. Okay.
What?
All right. Let's just start the second
Check.
verse.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Check.
Check. Yep.
Check. What do you want to do?
Let's just start the second verse when you both have voice. Like listen to her song and the video. Second verse.
To a favorite song playing on the radio. Hear the DJ said love's a game of easy come and easy go. But I want